Every country has its own set of favourite Christmas pieces, and we know what ours are. Hark the herald angels sing, O little town of Bethlehem, good King Wenceslas, O come all ye faithful, and so on. These are all staples that we all, or very many of us, know. And they come down to us from lots of different sources. So either through church music, obviously that's why choirs were singing at Christmas for centuries, but also some of these songs have their origins in folk music, and would be sung round the fire or in the pub or whatever it is. And some of them have got very mixed up. So Good King Wenceslas or God Rest You Merry Gentlemen are not very religious, and nor are things obviously like We Wish You a Merry Christmas. So what's got confused rather splendidly is the sacred and the secular. And that's sort of what Christmas is about anyway. I mean, we spend all our time complaining that we're spending too much time spending money and buying presents when we should be thinking about what's important. So actually the music is a reflection of our rather odd mixture of things at this time of year. Obviously, a lot of the tradition of Christmas is to do with the participation of everybody. So if you think about those Thomas Hardy novels where they talk about the band and the choir upstairs and the organ gallery and everybody joined in and sang, or the singing in the pub, or indeed congregational singing in church, then this is everybody. It may be that it's not so old. In fact, the idea of the King's College Carol service, it's over 100 years old. But in terms of the history of Christmas music, that's still relatively new. The idea that you listen to the choir, and then what proportion you listen to the choir. So some places you listen to the choir do 2 pieces and everyone does the rest of it. If you're talking about King's College, you listen to them doing 80% of it and join in on 3 or 4 hymns. And the idea, I suppose, of Christmas concerts, they're not that old. When I started at the CBSO, which is 38 years ago, the CBSO was doing its first Christmas concerts at that point, which they'd learned from the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic, and those go back to, say, 50 years. But the idea, for example, of orchestral Christmas concerts where everyone sings along are relatively new. And they also belong to the English-speaking world. So we do it, and the Americans do it, and the Australians now do it. But if you think the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, for example, were doing these concerts for perhaps longer than we were in this country, but the idea of the fancy professional choirs doing concerts in St John Smith Square or wherever and allowing the public to sing along, that's very new. The Christmas repertoire is quite different in different countries, and we're aware of that to a little extent because our carol books will have 2 German pieces and 2 French pieces and 1 Basque piece in it. Now, for example, I'm the chief conductor of the principal choir in Catalonia, and their main Christmas day for music is the 26th of December, St. Stephen's Day, when there's a national broadcast of the carols from the Palau de la Música with an entirely different repertoire. They have a whole books of their own repertoire, and we know a few of them, but it's just great that they're so different, and they know things like O Come All Ye Faithful and Ding Dong Merrily on High, and they do 1 or 2 of those every year. The Germans, again, have a completely different tradition. Now, we've got quite a lot of it because of Handel and Mendelssohn and Prince Albert and Christmas trees and Christmas cards and, all the 19th century crossover until 1914 between the 2 countries. But their mood is very different. Stille Nacht is typical of their Christmas carols that are very gentle and about having peace at Christmas times. And ours and the Americans all go, they quite like those in Germany, but they are not part of their tradition at all. So long live all the different carols. And in fact, there's some fantastic research to be done. For example, I know that there are books full of Birmingham Christmas carols from the 19th century with tunes that we don't know any longer to Good King Wenceslas, for example, the same texts but different tunes. The trouble is, if you bring those back, then the public doesn't know them and then they don't enjoy it so much. But actually, it's incredibly rich, and we could research much more than we do. Messiah is obviously one of the great war horses, and it's a great war horse because, it's one of the best pieces ever written. We do it at Christmas because obviously part one is about Christmas, but actually 2/3 of the piece is about Easter and reflection on the death of Christ. So it can be equally well done at Easter or at any time of the year. And what is so great about Messiah is that from the very outset, you can either do it with a huge orchestra and 900 in the choir, or you can do a minute, exquisite one, or you can do one where everybody sings along in the Albert Hall. And that's the great strength of Messiah, which makes it quite different from Christmas Oratorio, which comes, of course, from a completely different tradition, albeit written at the same time. And actually, it's not an oratorio at all, really, is it? It's 6 cantatas for 6 days in the Christmas period. The music is fantastically tricky and sophisticated, and is done very much more in the German-speaking world than in the English-speaking world, and sort of, on the whole, needs exquisite professional performance. You'll get fewer large-scale Christmas oratorios, I think. And Christmas oratorio can be divided up in different ways. You could do it 6 cantatas on the correct days, or you can do 3 cantatas on one day and 3 on another, because you can't do all 6 all at once. The concert would last forever. So we're lucky, aren't we, that we have these two great, amazing Christmas pieces. But actually, we're not aware of so much great Christmas music in this country that is done constantly, again, particularly in Germany, on their main Christmas concerts of the big symphony orchestras and the radio choirs and so on in Germany. You won't find them doing Christmas Oratorio or Messiah. They'll be doing pieces by great big oratorios by Saint-Saëns or Max Bruch and so on. There's tons of repertoire that in this country we don't know at all. Okay, my favourite Christmas carol, and if anyone ever asks me to do Desert Island Discs, I will choose 7 really important works like Mahler's Second Symphony and The Dream of Gerontius and so on. But my 8th piece, and the one that I keep when the other 7 are washed away, is going to be verse 7 of O Come All Ye Faithful by David Wilcox, where there's a particular chord on Word of the Father that is so celebrated that I don't think I could live without it, and that's my favourite moment.